Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I have not filmed a podcast in so long that I forgot that you don't film them vertically. So the first maybe 8-9 minutes of this video is in vertical. So please bear with me, I'm sorry. You're gonna have huge black squares on either side of my screen. And then I realize and it goes back to normal about kind of 8 or 9 minutes in. So bear with and see you then. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. It's Monday morning. I am flying back to London in about an hour, as in I'm leaving further. The flight isn't an hour. I'm gonna kind of get straight to the point. I think I kind of realized this weekend that I want to move back at some soon stage. The reasons for that are myriad, and I will go into them. So last week was tough. I had a health related issue that caused a lot of like administrative work and kind of effort, and was quite stressful. And then I had my plan for coming home this weekend, and I was so stressed about coming home because the party I was going to was going to be in Limerick. So my parents were going to meet me with my car at the airport so I could drive straight to Limerick. And that all went fine, but I just after the week I'd had, I just couldn't compute the organisation required to get there. So I didn't buy train tickets in advance and all that sort of thing. And I had to take kind of 4 different modes of transport. And the long and the short was, after I got on maybe the third one, I realised that I had left my purse on the previous one. So anyone who loses things in London, you know, it's tough, because I had a lot of hope at the time, because we have a pretty good track record of things being returned. I left a purse in a bar before that was returned. My sister lost a purse on transport, which was returned. So I froze all my cards, and then I went on the app. Obviously, first I had a complete meltdown and borderline panic attack on the train, and people were looking at me like... But I froze all my cards, and then I made a report that I had lost it to the train company. And they say they'll contact you in 14 days if they have it, which is a long time. So then I managed to come down with that because I was freaking out that I wouldn't be able to travel, but then because my passport card was in my purse. But I also had my passport book with me inside my handbag, and I did. I worked out that I would be able to travel with that even though I checked in with the passport card. So I felt kind of okay. I was already crying that morning before that happened, with stress and upset, because it was just too much. I just couldn't, I don't know what it was about this week, I just couldn't compute getting to Luton Airport after everything else I'd kind of been through that week. So I was already up to here, even before that happened. And that was weird because I was going home, and I thought I should be really happy to be going home. And I just kind of had a realization that morning where I was I don't deserve to be this unhappy. I've had a lot of kind of soul searching conversations with people over the last kind of few months about being there, and how maybe there's been a sunk cost fallacy where I have not liked it at really any stage, but I keep trying because I've always found certain things in my life hard, and I keep trying because in the hope that they'll improve, and a lot of the time they do. But I've put a certain amount of time into this, and it hasn't really improved. And there's things I've put my finger on about living in London and life there that just fundamentally don't suit me and my personality, even outside of you know, even outside of anxiety or other related difficulties, there's things that just about me that just don't suit London, you know. And I think it's a really positive thing, because the last few conversations I had with people like my sister and stuff, I said to them that the reason I was afraid about coming home, or that I didn't want to, even when I wasn't liking it, was I was afraid that if I came home I wouldn't go anywhere else again. And my sister said, I'm not worried about that with you at all. You know, I think you'll just go and like have a better life somewhere else, you know, somewhere else that suits you better. So that kind of was like a new idea for me, you know. And I think all this stuff is like really positive actually, rather than giving up, because I'm starting to sort of turn a tide, I think, where before I would have doggedly stuck to my plan of what I'd said I would do. I place a high premium on doing what you say you'll do. So if I said I was doing a year, if it was tolerable at all, I was going to do that year, you know. But it was after that conversation with Ellen and one of my parents and stuff that I was kind of like, why do I do things that I don't want to do though, and that I don't like, you know? And like, there's of course a certain amount of things that we have to do in life that we don't like or we don't want to do, but this isn't one of them, you know. So I was like, it's quite a new idea to me, the idea of just doing what I want, you know, or if I don't like something, just saying, I don't like this, I'm not going to do it, rather than continuing to push myself. I think I saw a great like tweet about this that I'll try and paraphrase. There's a Tumblr post, I think. But I think it's hard when you have anxiety and you have to push yourself to do things a lot. It's hard to tell then at certain points whether you're pushing yourself to kind of do something hard and be brave, or whether you just don't like something and like that's okay, you know, or whether you're just like not suiting your own personality and kind of pushing yourself outside of that box. So I think there's been an element of that, and it's really positive that I'm starting to think otherwise, you know, that I'm starting to see a different way of doing things, because like my way of thinking can be very rigid. It's funny like how resistant I am to getting checked for certain things that like I almost certainly have sometimes, but yeah, another positive thing is that I have contacted, so I mean those are positive changes that I've made. Speaking of realizations, I've just had a crashing one that you don't film podcasts in vertical, so apologies. I'll put a disclaimer in at the start, but yeah, that's been really positive. And I have also sought out, I've you know, I've done a lot of thinking about my thinking and how it works, and I've sought out an OCD therapist, so I'll do a bit of that and see if that helps. I think it probably will, because the more I think about how I think and what it all usually comes back to, I'm like, this makes sense with what I've heard and read. I forgot to tell you the end of the purse story. It is really honestly depressing. So I had high hopes about it being returned, and then I got on my flight with my passport card, and I didn't have to buy anything or anything. And then I was back in Ireland, and I was on the drive up to Limerick, and I got an email from somebody, and she said, "Hi, my name is X. I found your purse on the Luton train," which upset me because I thought I'd left it on the previous train, and that made me go, did I lose it on the train that I still had? Did I realise I had lost it when I still had it? I don't know. I can't, like, this is, I have to have ADHD. This is just like, or something. But anyway, I have a comedian who I love so much. He has a podcast, Mike and Vittorio's Guide to Parenting. His name's Mike Rice. And he just gives me a lot of solace in times like this, because his life is kind of a comedy of errors like this as well, where, you know, you are anxious about losing something or something happening, and then because you're anxious and distracted, that thing happens, and it just continues to get worse. But anyway, so I thought about, I actually listened to an episode of the podcast where like things went really terrible for him, and I was like, okay, this is someone that I really admire and I think is great, and like makes mistakes like this, and you know, it's okay that I do. But anyway, I got an email from this person, and she said, I found your purse, I handed it in at X train station, and also I listened to your music and I really liked it. And I was like, oh great, okay. And then I remembered that I had left business cards in the purse, which is how she'd gotten my email address. She also said she'd sent me a DM on Instagram, but when I went on like 2 days later, because I don't check it often, there wasn't anything there, so that was kind of weird. But anyway, I was delighted. I was like, oh my god, you know, I'm gonna get my cards back and everything. So, and I text, you know, I let the people know who I had told about the original disaster, and everyone was like, yippee! Faith in humanity restored. That evening then, when I was at the birthday in Limerick, I unblocked my Revolut card to like buy drinks or whatever. And then I saw a transaction on it in London from that night, and I was like, what? I thought this was inside a train station office. What the fuck is going on? So I reported the transaction as fraudulent. Thankfully, first of all, there wasn't a lot of money on that card, and then they actually only spent like about £5. It was in an off license. So I also had €100 cash in the wallet. So I was kind of baffled, where I said, okay, has this girl or person like done some kind of long con where they sent this email to me in the hope that I would unfreeze the cards because I would think that it was safe? Or more likely, somebody took the cards that they thought were useful out of the purse before she found it. You know, it makes sense, because when somebody steals a purse, you know, like they don't need most of the purse, they only need the bank cards really. So I sent her an email. I reported the transaction as fraudulent, and Revolut cancelled the card, and they're going to send me another card. So like I have to wait for all these cards. But anyway, I sent an email to this girl the next day then, and I was like, hey, you know, just wondering, when you found the wallet, was there bank cards and cash in it? Because somebody used one of the bank cards last night. She came back and she was like, oh, sorry to hear that. I saw bank cards and some coins, but I don't know how they would have gotten access because I gave it into the train station. So yeah, I'm more inclined to believe my second theory is true, in that, like, unfortunately, I think when I get to the purse, the €100 is probably gone. And I think they probably took my Revolut card and my Monzo card. I saw then last night on my Monzo card, even though it was frozen, because there was more money on that, you can see when somebody tries to use it, even when it's frozen. I didn't realise that I would see that. So they tried to use the Monzo as well. So I cancelled the Monzo. And that's going to be posted to me. So yeah, it's all a bit grim and sad, where I kind of had my hopes up, where I was like, oh great, like this person's found it. I'd almost rather it not be found, you know, than have it be found and then kind of find out that somebody else had already taken the good bits out of it. And then I would say I have an AIB bank card then, you know, an Irish one that like that the person probably wouldn't even recognise. So that's probably what was left in there. I'm hoping that's still there. I've obviously frozen that too. But I'm gonna swing into that station today on my way back and try and pick it up. Yeah. But obviously not an ideal thing to happen this weekend, especially when I'd had the kind of health concern during the weekend. Just made me be a bit like, fuck this, you know, like, and I know that's obviously, I'm not saying that like if that happens to you that you should go off London. It's more like I wasn't feeling anything else about it anyway, or about my life there. I felt really good since I voiced that out loud, that I think I'll come home soon. Not just at the prospect of coming home, but it felt really good to have done what normal people do and make the choice for myself that to choose the thing, to not continue to do the thing that is making me unhappy, you know? And yeah, just had a lot of like interesting realizations lately, like in terms of songwriting. I realized that like the more you hate yourself, hating yourself is actually a blocker to writing songs. Because, and I never like leaned into it because I thought my songs were going to be better or anything like that. Wasn't something that I was doing. But I think I was like, why am I writing these depressing songs, or why can't I write objectively about anything? But it's like when you hate yourself, you can't look objectively at anything in your life. When you're just consumed by shame, it doesn't make for, good music, or you can't really write you have to be able to step back from yourself a little bit to write interesting songs, I think. And if you're just consumed in like how much you hate yourself, because hating yourself is very boring, it's very uninteresting, it's very kind of, it's been said before, like there is sort of a, narcissism is too strong a word because obviously nobody chooses this, but like, oh, it's just so like, God, do you ever get sick of like thinking about yourself, beating up yourself? Like it's most, But anyway, all that to say, like I am still a little bit afraid that when I come back home, I might lose a little bit of the independence that I've built and kind of slip into my comfort here and my safety. Because my plan, I would like to, earn a bit more money here back, and then, maybe get a job in somewhere like Cork or something. Because I'm more open now than I was before to, conventional work. Basically, yeah, the plan is kind of to come home and some money, maybe move to Cork or something. Because I do want to continue this independence that I built, in the sense of like having a normal life that I had kind of managed to, that I'd worked so hard on. And I think that was one of the things that I have kind of succeeded in, the building some enjoyment of that and not just having that be scary all the time. Yeah, so whether I'm kind of at home for like a few months earning money or home for a year, I just have more sense now that like it's gonna work. Whereas before I was like, if I move home before like the time when I can go back to my old job, because they only intake at certain times of year, then I'll just be doing nothing and I'll be so depressed and everything. But I'm like, no, I won't be. Like I'll be okay. I'll be good. Like I just have more of like an understanding of, I've seen more examples of other people being okay and like, that things aren't the end of the world. Anyway, I think this might have been pretty incoherent, but I always finish the podcast and think, God, that was very incoherent. But then when I go back and I'm editing them, they usually are less so than I think. So hopefully that's the case with this. But yeah, flying back soon. Going on holidays this weekend. I'm going to visit a friend in Spain. Yay! Which like I deserve. I fucking deserve a European holiday. The weather forecast is terrible, so that's good. But hope, this is the whole thing of this year. It's all about hope. And I hope that the weather will shift. So yeah, see you soon. And I hope all is good with you and you are making it out okay through this mortal coil. It's a tough time to be, I think, alive, looking at news. It's easy to feel hopeless, but I think disconnecting is the best thing to do. I'm also gonna do a digital detox this month as well. So hopefully I'll be able to post, but I'm not gonna look. But yeah, stepping away is the best thing, because really, when you look at the world, there's a lot of good people all the time. I think the Dalai Lama said that once. Anyway, love you, bye.